You are off the clock with Trish and Steve. Hey, Steve Bose.
Hey, Trish, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. You know what? I tell you what, we're a little bit late today. It's totally my fault because I
Oh,
was flying in from Denver, Colorado, which you would imagine there might be some chill in the air, maybe a little
what is it,
snow.
April 8th? Okay.
Yeah, it's April 8th. It's like the end of ski season. No, it was gorgeous out there. I fly into St. Louis like, an hour and a half
Mm.
ago or whatever, snowing. April 8th, snowing.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right at all.
Oh my gosh. I'm like in shock. I'm in absolute shock. But
Yeah,
here we are.
I thought it was springtime.
Oh my god. You know what? It's funny because I knew I'd be landing and needing to I was going to go to my daughter's track meet. So I have
Ah,
my track shirt on. My heart is on the track and it's canceled because of snow.
wow, how about that?
Right? How often does that happen?
Yeah, it's rough because it's also baseball season. I know it was opening day or yesterday or the day before. Some teams yesterday for sure. And to have games, baseball's the worst game to have to play too when it's 38 degrees and wintry mix. It's not a sport made for cold
I don't know.
playing or watching.
I will just tell you, obviously, we're a football family, but we're also a baseball family. And I feel like if football players can get out there and play in the snow and the rain and the sleet, because I have attended many a game in those
Mm.
conditions, freezing cold, hot hands. But yeah, I come prepared at baseball. I'm the mom there giving out the hot hands that the players like. So it all works out.
Well, good luck with that.
I know, right? I know. Hey, I do want to ask you, I'm gonna tell you about my flight actually out to Denver and see if you've ever had anything like this happen. So I want to give a total shout out to the flight attendants on Southwest Airlines because there was a man, I'm gonna give very limited information here, 2 rows ahead of me who had an emergency. Older
Okay.
gentleman,
Like
older
a medical emergency you're talking
Yes,
about? Okay.
older gentleman. I got my earbuds in, I'm like AirPods, whatever, listening to some music, and all of a sudden it's a huge commotion. I'm like, what's happening? And I look up, and I guess his wife was by the window. He was in the middle seat, and some woman who was not with them, like maybe our age-ish, probably about my size, all of a sudden she's trying to just hoist him out of the middle seat, like, and he is
Mm.
unconscious.
Wow.
So she's struggling. She's calling for help. The flight attendants, I've never seen something like that happen. They were so calm. They found all the family members. Obviously, we didn't know what was happening, and we
Mhm.
still don't know. I don't know if he had a heart attack or what happened, but they were calling for doctors and nurses, and 2 nurses jumped up and, ran up there, and then they're yelling back for who's got a stethoscope, who has a blood glucose test, like all these things, because they
See,
didn't
it's
know.
too bad I wasn't on that flight because I usually do keep a stestoscope. Like, yeah, keep it strapped to my leg just in case for these
I
kinds of
felt
things when they
bad.
pop up.
I want to help. I want to help.
Yeah.
And I stayed put. And so anyway, long story short, they like saved this man's life on the plane. They laid him right out in the middle of the aisle and did their work.
Wow.
These 2 nurses, and there were no doctors on board, but the nurses got it under control. They were
Yeah.
yelling for
Maybe
aspirin. Who has an aspirin?
when there's
Somebody
no
had an aspirin.
when there's no doctors on board, then that's when I turn to my cousin, and I look at him. I go, yeah, that PhD in medieval studies is not doing anybody any good right now either.
That's so true. That's so true. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, shout out to the flight attendants who just remained calm and got everything taken care of, and then all of the people that had to step up and donate items. And anyway, I was actually surprised. We were past Kansas City.
Wow, I wouldn't have had any items to donate. Like I
I
mean,
know, right? What would
unless like a
you?
Burt's Bees lip balm has some
If
sort
you
of
had really
like
chapped
yeah
lips, yeah.
cardiac resuscitating ability,
I don't know. I tell you
I'd
what,
be of no help as well.
it made me feel like scared a lot, and then also just like, wow, there are people in this world that are really good people. So
Yeah, well, it's awesome. They do a great job. I think the flight attendants in general across the airlines, in my experience, are really, really underappreciated,
oh my God,
undervalued, probably underpaid as well, and certainly
certainly.
have a tough job at times and throughout the last couple of years of the pandemic and still dealing with a lot of the pandemic related stuff. They do a great job. So shout them out. Of course, I flew this week as well. I had good flight experiences, but 2 super late nights just because of the schedule, and one flight did get delayed. But we have done very limited business travel over the last couple of years. And I thought, boy, man, I churned up so much time, time I couldn't do any work really, because I find it very difficult to actually work on planes. And then just getting into where I was going to Las Vegas, and going there, I got in at, I don't know, 2 a.m, probably by the time I got to the hotel. And coming back, it was probably 1:30 in the morning. So you're not getting enough sleep. You're kind of, we did a webinar yesterday. I had to get up and prepare for that after probably 2 days of not enough sleep. So yeah, it's rough, man. You forget how tough the business travel can be.
It is very tough on your body. And like you said, if you get delayed the slightest bit, it can really, well, especially you're saying 2 a.m. Was that Vegas time?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's really like 4 a.m. for you. So it was pretty much like you just didn't sleep that night.
It was not awesome, but a good event. I was at a Health and Benefits Leadership Conference. I saw some of our friends out there, and we had a really good time. Had some fun. Hosted a session. It all went well, and so I was pleased to do it. But yeah, it's just tough. It's a long way. Coast to coast to coast. It takes a lot out of you for sure.
It does. It does. Hey, you mentioned our webinar. That was really fun. So you and I had kind of talked about it. We've backed off of webinars a lot because we got a lot of webinar fatigue early on in the pandemic.
Sure.
We kind of backed way off of doing them. So I hadn't done one for, I think we did one earlier in the year. And so it's much less than normal. And it was with our friends at Culture Amp, and Steve Brown joined us. It was crazy. Like there were so many people on that webinar, and like all of the comments. I don't know if you could keep up with it, but I
could not. I gave up.
Twitter going and the comments going. And I'm like trying to answer, like whenever you'd start talking, I'd quickly try and answer 2 or 3 things, and it wasn't like I'm saying answer. It wasn't like answering something. It was more just like joining the conversation. Like there was this whole dialogue going on. So yeah, really, really fun stuff.
Yeah, that was the most engaged webinar audience I've ever seen for a webinar that I was participating in. Like that's by far. Yeah, it was great. And we should find Trish, I know you just got home. I have to look too. I know our friends at Culture Amp also had a sketch artist, one of those live sketch artists who was drawing like one of those sketches of insights from the webinar. And well, we have that picture too. I think we could share it if we can find it.
We don't have it just yet, but we will be getting it.
Yeah. Okay. So awesome.
It'll be available probably early next week. I would think we'll have the final version, but it was fun. I felt like there were so many things where you said something or Steve Brown would say something. I'm like, oh my God, that was great. I've never heard that before. Like,
yeah, Steve was great. I just hope I made the sketch. I hope something I said made the sketch. We'll see if it does.
I have a feeling. If nothing else, I took notes of what you said. But
all right, great.
Anyway,
maybe draw a picture of them over the weekend then.
Right? Yeah. Hey, you want to know what else I did this week? So I was in Colorado with my boyfriend. He had his TV like conked out, black screen. Now the TV, to be fair, is like 7 years old. And so, like most people, does
it still have the tubes in the back?
It does not, but it's more expensive to fix them than to just buy a new one at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Pay for labor and everything. And I thought, you know what, if we're not fixing it anyway, I'm going to fix the TV. Now I am not a TV repair person, but let me tell you what, I am going to be. It's going to be my backup plan because I watched I love YouTube. I watched all these YouTube videos on how to diagnose what's wrong with your television. This is an LED television. So if anyone has LED television questions, you can ask me. So so I have ordered the parts. I am going to fix it next week. Actually, when the parts come in. Yeah, I'm pretty excited.
That'll be fun. Good luck with that. Maybe report back.
I will report back if it actually
works. Just let's real quick. I wrote all these notes. I didn't talk about any of them, and we're probably at the end of the show. I'll throw one out there. Trish, I learned recently, maybe today even, that the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts have been fighting it out in federal court. Were you aware of this?
No. What are they fighting about?
Apparently the Girl Scouts sued the Boy Scouts, the organizations I'm talking about, not individual scouts, about accusing them of trademark violations because the Boy Scouts apparently, and I'm not into this whole subculture, so I wasn't aware of this, but apparently a couple of years ago, the Boy Scouts have been trying to branch out because if you only sort of do programming for boys, right, that's half the audience is not available to you. So they've been trying to kind of do more just all gender kinds of programming, and they even tweaked their official legal name in a minor way. But anyway, so they were advertising for these programs, and the Girl Scouts claim that they can't use the terms scouts and scouting in a gender neutral way, that somehow violated Girl Scout trademarks. And anyway, a New York federal court ruled in favor of the Boy Scouts on this and has thrown the case out. So to be determined how the Girl Scouts are going to react to it. I had no idea, Trish, that the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts, you would think, come on, if anybody's fighting it out in court, I never would have picked these two organizations to be battling in court. So
no, and what kind of, what does that teach the young scouts really about life?
I don't know.
Probably not a good message.
It's a very profound question that I don't have an answer to.
They couldn't just work that out. Wow.
Probably not.
All right. Well, what else you got? Because honestly, we didn't get to do a show on Wednesday. Had tons of technical difficulties where I was. So yeah, what else you got? We'll go a little long today.
All right, I'll give you one more. A nonprofit organization, Trish, called Building H, who I was not familiar with until today. They've created an index in which they're attempting to evaluate 37 selected companies across a few industries: food and food services, entertainment, housing, and transportation. And they ranked these companies based on how their products and services impact the health of their customers, with the idea that they want to sort of highlight companies that are doing good and sort of providing healthy services, but not direct health. These are not healthcare organizations or plant-based meat or anything like that. It's really just sort of more mainstream kinds of companies, but trying to evaluate these mainstream companies and how they're impacting people's health, Trish. And I was shocked at this, but I get it. I'll just real quick, the company that was the lowest, according to this Building H group, the least healthy overall company. You want to take a guess at it? It has nothing to do with food or anything like that. It's just a mainstream, well-known brand that everybody knows.
Like Nike.
No, it's not Nike. It's
That would be a bad answer.
Yeah, it's not Nike. They're sort of Get Fit and all that. They're probably doing the right thing. It was Netflix, Trish. They came in dead last on the list of 37 companies because the Building H group says, and I get this, the whole design of Netflix is designed to keep you attached to your screen, sitting on your couch or laying awake at bed late at night and just binge watching. It's always the next suggestion, next show up, just constant. It will never stop unless you make it stop, kind of thing. And so Netflix. In fact, even they had a quote from either the CEO or the former CEO of Netflix who said one of our main competitors to Netflix was sleep. They considered sleep a competitor at some point in their history. So how about that?
That's interesting.
Some other companies that scored really low were DoorDash, makes sense.
Okay.
Taco Bell and
what
Uber.
about the best? Are you going to give the number one? Like who got the best?
Yeah, the best were ones I'd never heard of, Trish, but there was two companies. One's called Cul-de-sac, another one's called Common. And what they do is they design housing and apartment communities and communities that are designed around more healthy habits. And this Cul-de-sac company is designing the first basically like mini suburb, if you will. It'll house about 1,000 people or so, maybe 1,000 homes that no cars are allowed. It's all walkable friendly. So you can walk or bike to everything that you need. So that's it. Those are the things that came up very high on this rank. So how about that? Netflix is making us unhealthy, according to Building H.
You know what? That's probably true, but I still love it. Still love Netflix. Not gonna lie.
I said the same thing about Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. So there we go.
Well, good. Well, listen, let's let everyone go. Everyone, thank you for listening and watching as always. We will see you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend, Steve.
You too.
All right. Bye.